My first day working at Tae-Oh's penthouse, I expected him to hover, to watch me like I might steal something or mess up his perfect space. But he wasn't even there. Just a note on the kitchen counter in clean, precise handwriting. Welcome. Coffee in the cabinet above the sink if you need it. Lock up when you leave. That set the pattern for the first 3 weeks. I'd arrive at 8, let myself in with the key Minjun had given me, and work in silence. The penthouse was massive but surprisingly easy to maintain because Tae-Oh barely seemed to live there. His bed was always made. His kitchen looked untouched. The only signs of life were the coffee cups in the sink and occasional papers on his desk that I was instructed never to read. I was good at following instructions, good at keeping my head down and doing my job. I needed this money too badly to risk it by being curious. But I couldn't help noticing things, like the locked room at the end of the hall that I was told to never enter, or the men in expensive suits who sometimes arrived while I was there, speaking rapid Korean in the living room while I cleaned the bedrooms, or the way Tae-Oh's phone would ring at odd hours, and I'd hear his voice through the walls, calm, cold, giving orders I didn't understand. I'd made a deal with someone dangerous, and every day I was reminded of that fact. But he never made me feel unsafe. That was the strange part. When he was there, which wasn't often, he was polite, distant, but not cruel. He'd ask how Zara was doing, whether the insurance was working out, if I needed anything. Always professional, always careful not to cross any lines. Then small things started happening. I came in one Monday to find an envelope on the counter with my name on it. Inside was $2,000 in cash and a note. For the specialist appointment. Consider it an advance. I hadn't told him Zara had a specialist appointment scheduled, but somehow he knew. The following week, I mentioned in passing that I was having trouble sleeping, that the stress of everything kept me up at night. 2 days later, there was a box of expensive chamomile tea in the cabinet with a sticky note. This helps me. Might help you. He started adjusting my schedule without me asking, somehow knowing when Zara had doctor appointments or when I needed to leave early. The paycheck that showed up every 2 weeks was always more than we'd agreed on, and when I tried to give the extra back, he refused to discuss it. You work hard, he said once, not looking up from his laptop. You deserve to be paid fairly. This is more than fair. Then consider it a bonus for discretion. I didn't know what to do with his kindness. It felt like a trap, but the jaws never closed. He just kept being quietly, carefully generous, and I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It dropped, but not the way I expected. I'd been working there for about 6 weeks when I arrived one afternoon to find him home unexpectedly. He was standing by the window in jeans and a white t-shirt, so different from his usual suits that I almost didn't recognize him. He looked tired, human. I'm sorry, I said quickly. I didn't know you'd be here. I can come back later. No, stay. I just came home early. Had a headache. He rubbed his temples. I'll stay out of your way. But he didn't. As I cleaned, I was aware of him in a way I hadn't been before. The way he moved through the space. The way he'd stop sometimes and just stare out the window at the city below. There was something heavy in the air, something unsaid. I was dusting his bookshelf when he spoke. Do you ever feel trapped by your own choices? The question was so unexpected that I turned to look at him. He wasn't looking at me, still staring out that window like it held answers. Every day, I said honestly. I chose to keep Zara when everyone told me not to. Chose to drop out of school. Chose to raise her alone. Sometimes I wonder who I'd be if I'd chosen differently. Do you regret it? Not for a second. But that doesn't mean it isn't hard. I set down my dust cloth. Why are you asking me this? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I left Korea to avoid becoming something I didn't want to be. I thought distance would give me freedom. But the life I left behind, it doesn't let go easily. Sometimes I wonder if I just traded one cage for another. There was pain in his voice, real and raw. I'd never heard him sound like that before. Always so controlled, so careful. But in that moment, he sounded lost. What were you supposed to become? Someone who valued loyalty over love. Someone who could hurt people without feeling it. Someone like my father. He finally turned to look at me. I wasn't good at it. Maybe that's not a bad thing. In my world, kindness is weakness. Hesitation gets you killed. Then maybe you're in the wrong world. He laughed. But there was no humor in it. Maybe I am. We stood there in his living room, surrounded by expensive things that didn't make him happy, and something shifted between us. Some wall came down that we'd both been maintaining. He saw me, and I saw him. Not the dangerous man who'd threatened me in my apartment. Not the cold businessman who barely spoke. Just Tae-Oh, who was as trapped as I was, just in a different kind of cage. I should finish cleaning, I said softly, breaking the moment because it felt too big and dangerous. Brenda, I'll be quick. You should rest. For your headache. I practically ran to the bathroom, my heart racing for reasons I didn't want to examine. Behind the closed door, I pressed my hands against the sink and stared at my reflection. This was just a job. He was just my employer. Whatever I was feeling was just gratitude mixed with loneliness, and the fact that I hadn't been touched by a man in 5 years. It wasn't real. It couldn't be real. I repeated that to myself all the way home. If you're just joining us, this is the final episode of this story. If you missed episode 1, check the link in the description below. And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what kind of stories you want to hear next. Now, let's continue. The next 2 weeks were torture. I'd arrive for work and find excuses to finish quickly. He'd come home, and I'd suddenly remember something I needed to do in another room. We were both avoiding whatever had happened that afternoon, pretending it never occurred. But the tension kept building. I'd catch him watching me when he thought I wasn't looking. He'd find reasons to be home during my shifts when he'd barely been there before. Our conversations got longer, deeper, more personal. He told me about growing up in Seoul, about the pressure to follow his father's footsteps, about his brother's betrayal, and how it broke their family apart. I told him about Zara's father, about being 19 and pregnant and terrified, about building a life from nothing because I had no other choice. We were circling something, both of us feeling it, neither of us willing to name it, until one evening, when everything fell apart. I was reaching for a book on a high shelf that had fallen behind the others he'd asked me to organize his collection, and I couldn't quite get it. I heard him come up behind me, felt his presence before he spoke. Let me. He reached over my shoulder, his chest against my back, and pulled the book free. But neither of us moved after that. We were frozen there. So close I could feel his breath on my neck, could smell his cologne, could feel the heat radiating off his body. Brenda. My name was barely a whisper. I should have stepped away. Laughed it off. Made a joke. Done anything to break the moment. Instead, I turned around. We were inches apart. His eyes were dark, intense, full of everything we'd been avoiding. My heart was hammering so hard I was sure he could hear it. We can't, I whispered, but I didn't move. I know. This is a bad idea. I know. But his hand came up to cut my face, his thumb brushing my cheek, and I was done pretending. I kissed him first, closing that last bit of distance between us, and the world tilted sideways. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate and hungry and full of weeks of denial. His hands were in my hair, mine were clutching his shirt, and we were pressed against that bookshelf like we were drowning, and each other was air. He tasted like coffee and mint and something uniquely him, and I couldn't get enough. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back in. I should go, I said, my voice shaking. Brenda. I need to go. I need to think. I grabbed my purse and practically ran out of there, leaving him standing by that bookshelf looking as wrecked as I felt. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying that kiss over and over. Zara was curled up beside me, her breathing steady and healthy thanks to the new medication that Tae-Oh's insurance had provided. My beautiful girl who depended on me to make smart choices. And kissing my employer, a man involved in things I didn't understand, a man who carried pictures of bleeding people in his wallet, that wasn't a smart choice. By morning, I'd made my decision. I arrived at work exactly on time, professional and prepared. Tae-Oh was there, waiting in the living room. He looked like he hadn't slept either. "We need to talk," he said. "I agree. Last night was a mistake. It can't happen again." Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe. "A mistake. Yes. I need this job. I can't afford to complicate things. So we're going to pretend it never happened and maintain professional boundaries from now on. Can you do that?" He stared at me for a long moment, and I forced myself to meet his eyes, to not look away even, though everything in me wanted to. "If that's what you want, it is. Then consider it forgotten." His voice was flat, emotionless. The cold businessman was back. "I'll be in my office if you need anything." He walked away, and I stood there, feeling like I'd just made the right decision, and the worst mistake of my life. For the next week, we were perfectly professional, polite, distant. It was exactly what I'd asked for, and it was killing me. Because I couldn't stop thinking about that kiss, couldn't stop noticing the way his jaw tightened when I walked into a room, couldn't stop feeling the ghost of his hands in my hair, his lips on mine. And I could tell he was struggling too. I'd catch him staring at me with an expression that made my chest ache. He'd start to say something, then stop himself. The air between us was thick with everything we weren't saying. It came to a head on a Thursday evening. I was getting ready to leave when he appeared in the doorway, blocking my path. His expression was intense, almost angry. "I can't do this anymore." "Do what?" "Pretend. Act like I don't." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I'm in love with you, Brenda. I've been in love with you since that night in the hotel bar when you looked at me like I was just a man instead of something to be afraid of. And I've tried to give you space, tried to respect your boundaries. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way." My heart stopped. "Tae-Oh, I know your ex hurt you. I know you have every reason not to trust men, especially men like me. But I'm not him. I won't leave you. I won't abandon you or Zara. I'm not asking you to risk your job or your stability. I'm just asking you to give me a chance. Give us a chance." The words hung in the air between us, raw and honest and terrifying. Everything I'd been afraid to admit I wanted. "I need time," I whispered. "To think. Take all the time you need. I'll be here." He sighed, letting me pass, and I walked out of there feeling like my heart was being pulled in two different directions. I spent the next 3 days barely functioning, going through the motions at work while my mind spun in circles. Zara asked me twice if I was okay, and I couldn't even answer her properly. The thing was, I believed him. That was the terrifying part. When Tae-Oh said he wouldn't leave, I believed him. When he said he loved me, I felt it in every word. But believing him meant taking a risk, meant opening myself up to the possibility of pain again, meant bringing my daughter into a world I still didn't fully understand. But it also meant the possibility of something real, something I'd stopped believing existed. Saturday morning, I made my decision. I called him, and he answered immediately. "I'll say yes to trying this, to us, but I have one condition." "Name it." "That photograph in your wallet. The blood. The man in it. Everything about your world. That scares me. I need to know the truth. All of it. If we're doing this, if I'm bringing you into my daughter's life, I need to know what I'm walking into." Silence on the other end. Then, "Okay, I'll tell you everything, but not over the phone. Let me take you to dinner. Tomorrow night. I'll arrange for Mrs. Chen to watch Zara." "How do you know Mrs. Chen's name?" "Brenda, I know everything about your life. That probably should scare you. but I hope it doesn't. It just means I pay attention. It should have scared me. But instead, it made me feel seen in a way I never had been before. Tomorrow night, I agreed. And Tae-Oh, don't make me regret this. I won't, I promise. The restaurant he chose was small, private, the kind of place where people went when they didn't want to be seen. We sat in a booth in the back corner, and I'd never been more nervous in my life. "Thank you for coming," he said once we'd ordered. "Thank you for being willing to talk." He took a breath, and I watched him steel himself for what came next. The man in the photograph is my brother, Park Tae-Jun. He's 3 years older than me. And growing up, he was everything I wasn't. Confident, ruthless, perfect for the life our father had planned for us. What life? My father runs one of the largest criminal organizations in Seoul. Drugs, weapons, gambling if it's illegal and profitable, he's involved. Tae-Jun was being groomed to take over. I was supposed to be his second, his enforcer. My hands tightened around my water glass. And the blood? 3 years ago, we discovered Tae-Jun had been skimming money, millions of dollars, funneling it into offshore accounts. When my father found out, he ordered me to handle it. To make an example of him. Handle it how? Tae-Oh met my eyes, and I saw the pain there. He wanted me to kill my own brother. The words hit me like a physical blow. Did you? No, I couldn't. I found him first, told him to run. Took that photograph as proof that I'd done the job. Showed my father the blood. Told him the body was disposed of. He believed me. Tae-Oh's voice was hollow. But my brother is still out there somewhere, hiding, and I carry that picture as a reminder of what loyalty and betrayal look like. Of what I was willing to lose to save someone who didn't deserve saving. Why didn't he deserve it? Because he would have killed me without hesitation if our positions were reversed. Because he's guilty of everything my father accused him of and worse. Because saving him meant I could never go home again, could never see my mother or the few people I cared about in Korea. I gave up everything for someone who wouldn't have done the same for me. I processed this information, my mind racing. So you came here? I came here because my father has enemies everywhere. Coming to America, building a legitimate business front, it gives me distance and protection. But I'm still connected to that world in ways I wish I wasn't. I still have to take calls in the middle of the night. Still have to deal with men who speak in code and carry guns. I'm trying to build something different, but the past doesn't let go easily. And the locked room in your penthouse? Contains everything I brought from Korea. Documents, photos, things I might need someday. Things that prove who I really am. He reached across the table, taking my hand. I'm not a good man, Brenda. I've done things I'm not proud of, but I've never lied to you, and I never will. If this is too much, if you want to walk away right now, I'll understand. I'll still make sure Zara gets the medical care she needs. You'll never have to see me again. I looked down at our joined hands. His were larger than mine. Warm. Strong. Capable of violence? Maybe. But gentle when they touched me. This man who had threatened me in my apartment had just handed me his darkest secrets. Had given me the power to destroy him if I wanted to. I don't want to walk away, I said quietly. I'm terrified. Of your world, of getting hurt, of what this means for Zara. But I don't want to walk away. His grip on my hand tightened. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Relief flooded his face, so profound it almost looked like pain. I won't hurt you. I swear on everything I have, I won't hurt you. Don't make promises you can't keep. Then I promise to try. Every day. To be worthy of this chance you're giving me. We finished dinner talking about lighter things. He told me about his mother, who loved gardening, and sent him care packages full of Korean snacks. I told him about the time Zara decided she wanted to be a dinosaur for an entire month, and I had to explain to her teacher why she was roaring instead of speaking. Normal conversation, like we were normal people on a normal date. But when he drove me home that night, We both knew we'd crossed a line we couldn't uncross. He walked me to my door, and we stood there in the dim hallway, the air thick with everything unsaid. "Thank you," I whispered, "for telling me the truth. Thank you for listening." I reached up and kissed him, soft this time, not desperate like before. A choice, deliberately made. He responded carefully, like I was something precious that might break. When we pulled apart, I took his hand. "Come inside. Brenda, Mrs. Chen has Zara for the night, and I don't want to be alone." Understanding flickered in his eyes, followed by heat. "Are you sure?" Instead of answering, I unlocked my door and pulled him inside. My apartment looked shabbier than ever with him in it. This man in his expensive clothes and his dangerous life. But he didn't seem to notice. His eyes were only on me. "I've wanted this," he said, backing me against the closed door, his hands on either side of my head. "Wanted you. For so long." "Then stop talking." He kissed me again, and this time there was no hesitation. His hands found the zipper of my dress while mine worked on the buttons of his shirt. We stumbled toward my bedroom, leaving a trail of clothes, and when we finally fell onto my bed, I felt like I was falling into something bigger than both of us. He was gentle at first, asking permission with every touch, making sure I was okay. But I didn't want gentle. I wanted to feel alive, to feel wanted, to forget about being scared for just one night. "I'm not going to break," I whispered against his mouth. Something shifted in him then. The careful control slipped away, and he touched me like he was starving. Like I was everything he'd been denying himself. And I touched him back with equal hunger, equal need, equal desperation. When he finally entered me, we both went still for a moment, foreheads pressed together, breathing hard. "Okay?" he asked. More than okay. We moved together, finding a rhythm that felt both brand new and ancient, like our bodies had been waiting for this. He said my name like a prayer, and I said his, like an answer. When we came apart, it was together, holding on to each other like we were the only solid thing in a spinning world. After, we lay tangled in my sheets, his arm around me, my head on his chest. I could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we figure it out. Together." "I'm still scared." "Good. That means you're smart." He pressed a kiss to my hair. "But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." I wanted to believe him. Lying there in the dark, feeling safer than I had in years, I chose to believe him. Morning came too soon. I woke to sunlight streaming through my window and Tae-Oh's arm still wrapped around me. For a moment, I just watched him sleep, his face peaceful in a way I'd never seen it. This dangerous man, this criminal's son, this person who'd somehow become the safest thing in my world. His eyes opened, finding mine immediately. Hey, yourself. Regrets? Not even one. And I meant it. He smiled, real and genuine, and pulled me closer. Good, because I'm not letting you take this back. Possessive much, when it comes to you? Absolutely. We stayed in bed for another hour, talking and touching and learning each other in the daylight. Eventually, reality intruded. Zara would be home soon, and we both had lives to return to. But as I walked him to the door, I felt different, lighter, like I'd been holding my breath for 5 years and finally remembered how to breathe. "I'll see you Monday?" I asked. "You'll see me before then. I'm taking you and Zara to the aquarium tomorrow." She mentioned wanting to see the sharks. "How do you know that?" "Because I pay attention." He kissed me once more, soft and sweet. "Get used to it, Brenda. I'm not going anywhere." After he left, I leaned against my door and smiled. My life was still complicated. His world was still dangerous. We had so many obstacles ahead of us. But for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt something beyond survival. I felt hope. Mrs. Chen brought Zara home an hour later, and my daughter ran into my arms chattering about the pancakes they'd made for breakfast. I held her tight, breathing in her little girl's smell, feeling grateful for everything that had led me here. "Mama, why are you smiling so much?" Zara asked. "Because I'm happy, baby." "Good. You should smile more." "You're pretty when you smile." Out of the mouths of babes. That night, after I'd put Zara to bed, my phone buzzed with a text from Tae-Oh. "Thank you for taking a chance on me. I promise I'll spend every day trying to deserve it." I typed back, "Don't make me regret this." His response came immediately. "Never." I fell asleep with my phone in my hand and a smile on my face, dreaming of aquariums and second chances and dangerous men with gentle hands. The wallet that had started everything, the connection it had created, the love it had somehow made possible, that was just beginning. Some things are meant to be found. Some people are meant to find each other. And sometimes, taking a risk on the wrong person turns out to be the rightest thing you've ever done. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in 5 years, I was excited to find out. And that's the end. Thank you so much for listening to this journey with Brenda and Tae-Oh. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss future stories. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what kind of stories you'd like to hear next. More romance? Drama? Maybe something with a twist? I read every comment and your suggestions help me create content you'll love. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, sometimes the best things in life come from the risks we're most afraid to take.